Hey guys, Chris Webber here. Today we're going to be having a look at these Jerry's Nugget playing cards. We're going to talk a little bit about the history, why they're worth so much money on the second-hand market, paying up to upwards of $500 per deck, why they're so sought after, and a little bit about what they actually handle like, how they feel, and how do they really compare to a modern deck of playing cards, and whether or not they're actually worth it to get a deck or two of. So the Jerry's Nugget playing cards were originally printed for the gaming tables at the Jerry's Nugget Casino in Las Vegas. They were printed in 1970 by the United States Playing Card Company. These playing cards never really saw any use on their gaming tables, and they sold them through their gift shop, which they sold out in the late 1990s. So why are they so expensive? Why are people willing to pay upwards of $500 US for one deck of these playing cards? Well, ultimately I think it has to do with the fact that they've been so highly esteemed by very prominent cardists and magicians. So they've been heavily used by Dan and Dave, which was the first time I saw them. So you can see them used on the System, the Trilogy, and other publications from them, as well as a number of books and other videos that include Jerry's Nuggets. I think as well as the fact that there's a very limited supply of these cards. There was one print run of each colour done in 1970, so now more than 50 years ago. And the techniques that we used to make these cards, it's no longer possible to reproduce today. So effectively we have cards that feel very, very unique, and that feeling cannot be reproduced accurately. And it just makes them more desirable, as well as the very vibrant colorways and very retro design, which personally I really love. So now to talk a little bit about how they actually feel in your hands when you're handling them. So what I would say about them is that they're very, very thin and they're very, very stiff playing cards. So when you're doing a spring or any kind of move that involves pressure on the cards, you definitely have to apply more pressure to them than you would a modern deck of cards. And they're also only single side embossed, and that means that the finish on the face of the cards and the finish on the back of the cards are actually different. So the back is similar to what you'd see now on a deck of bicycle playing cards, where there's the dimples that are embossed. The front of the playing cards only has a very slight embossing on it, and it's actually more like vertical lines rather than a grid. You will hear some people say that this is unique to Jerry's Nugget playing cards. That's not true. A lot of the cards that were printed by the United States Playing Card Company in this era all have that finish. So even a deck of B playing cards from the 70s, as well as a deck like Golden Nuggets, have the same finish as Jerry's Nuggets, although I will admit they do not feel the same as a deck of Jerry's. They also feel like they have almost a sort of plastic varnish onto them. The finish is quite unusual. As I mentioned, they're only one side embossed, but they also have a chemical finish on them, and it means that they almost feel very plasticky, and they don't fan all that well, especially if you've been using them for a little while. They're okay out of the box, but they don't fan well forever, and I expect that's largely due to the finish that's on them. But they are very stiff. Personally, I like them. They're great for packet cuts, but they do handle very differently from a modern counterpart. So if you bought the Jerry's Nugget reprints that were done through Kickstarter, those feel radically different from a vintage deck of Jerry's Nuggets. The cards that would probably come the closest would be the Chicken Nugget playing cards. Personally, that's the ones I feel like have most faithfully reproduced the finish, because they're very stiff and they're also a little bit heavier, which I've found to be true for Jerry's Nugget playing cards as well. Is it worth buying a deck of Jerry's Nuggets? Well, they do feel very distinct, and if you really want to know what one feels like, there is really no other way than to actually get your hands on one. Is it really worth $500 for a deck? Personally, I would say unless you're a real serious collector, or if you're buying it for wanting to have it for resale value in the future, they're probably not worth buying at that price point. I've obviously purchased two and opened both. The reason I've done that is because I loved them and wanted to have some and wanted to use them and really find out what they're like and actually be able to share that information with you. So yeah, if you're really into vintage cards, yeah, there's nothing like them. But also, they're very different from modern cards. They do not handle the same way. They are very distinctive, but yeah, if you're used to handling modern custom decks, it's you're going to be in for a bit of a surprise if you handle a deck of Jerry's Nuggets, because they just do not handle the same way. So with that in mind, I would say, yeah, if you can find them somewhere for less than $500, then probably a good purchase, but otherwise you can buy a lot of other cards for that money.